Hey, how are you? My name is Alex Petrocelli. My preferred pronouns are he, him, and his. I identify as a Latino Italian man. My family is from Puerto Rico, Cuba, and Italy. I speak English, just about English, and this is what being bilingual means to me.
So, Alex, what in your life makes you feel connected to your Latinidad?
I would say two things. One, I would just simply say my family. My mom has done a great job of introducing that culture into my life since birth and making sure that that stood there. And that extends out to you, my cousin, my grandmother, my aunt, everybody involved. Even though I wasn't growing up in an area where there was a lot of Latino people around me, it always felt like a very prominent part of my life. Secondly, I think just simply my appearance just doesn't let me get away from it. So, so every time I look in the mirror, I'm like, "Yep, that's me." So
you you are, I mean, I'm in the theater, right? So I always look at things through that lens. And you are a casting director's dream because you're ethnically ambiguous. Um, what have people mistaken you for?
everything, not everything. Um, this morning I got Greek.
Oh,
Get I get half black often. I get Middle Eastern decently often. So I just just pick it. It's definitely been mistaken with me before. The beauty of the ethnically ambiguous, everyone could see something.
what are the positives and negatives of looking like all these cultures?
I guess the positives, like we just kind of mentioned, that I kind of blend in to a lot of different environments and be fine. Just to the mere sense that I feel comfortable wherever I'm at, and I can look the part in a number of different places. Whereas a little bit negative, I would say, it still kind of fit into some stereotypes of some, more closed-minded people. I still am brown. I still get, some of those. I still have had racist acts towards me and things like that. So I've still been a victim of some poor stereotypes and racism in my past. So that is, I guess, the negative part of it. But ultimately, it's just experiences that have helped, molded me into who I am and has made me more open-minded and welcoming to all people in that process, knowing what it's felt like to a small extent. It's kind of interesting. I think personally, it makes culture, I think, is always huge in what's making people interesting. Um, just having a different background than somebody else, having that true diversity, um, I think can open some doors in the sense of this is not what people see every day.
That's why it's important to recognize both sides, because as cool as it could be, it could also have its challenges, and it could lead um, to sometimes changing the way that you interact in different spaces. So, you grew up in New Jersey, and although maybe the area you grew up in isn't like the most diverse, it still um, has
But
diversity around it. Jersey's pretty diverse.
absolutely.
But then you went to Kentucky for college. And what was that? I mean, that was different, right?
That was 100% different. That was where I was in Jersey. There's plenty of all different kinds of Latino people, and there's plenty of Italian people, as has been documented in many different shows and movies before, and that's a true thing. There's a lot of Italians up here as well, but down there, there's really not much diversity at all. There's white people and there's black people, and that's about it. There's like a small Mexican population, but it's really just I'm out there and I'm kind of something different that people haven't heard of. But I get the looks of people trying to make out what I am. I get the looks of, well, he's not one of us, so it's still a little whatever. And and I definitely wasn't. I'm a northerner. My background's 100% different. So I kind of, it was interesting trying to, immerse myself in there. It
Yeah.
definitely benefited the city in Lexington rather than just, out in the country somewhere. Benefit. That was like I was in one of the best spots you can be in Kentucky with the background that I have for sure.
What are, when we spoke last, you spoke about identity markers. So, what are your identity markers, and how did they contribute to people's perceptions of you?
One of the identity markers is obviously my skin color, so they know just off top that I'm not white. The kind of style that I have leaves leaves things up into interpretation. I like my chain. I have tattoos. I wear my hats backwards because I feel like it looks weird forwards. Um, the general style that I have. So once you kind of blend those two things together, that people start, then start coming to their own kind of ideas, and they try to, and that's when, because naturally how the mind works is that, you try to pick and categorize and place, because that's how a lot of people make sense of things, is what we were taught growing up in school, whereas like, these terms fit under this thing for this test, and this is how you compartmentalize with different subjects. It's like, it's almost kind of like the same thing with dealing with people of different nationalities and races. So
Mm-hmm.
I definitely feel people putting me into a kind of an area, and since I don't speak Spanish, I don't fit into that Spanish area for them. So that typically leaves me out to interpretation of whatever, whether derogatory or simply just different categories for people.
It's super interesting. So, your story has been very interesting because you have these two families that come from very different backgrounds, very different walks of life, and then you look like the perfect combination of both of them, right? I think that you've got this great mix of everything that I think is so Jersey, which is so much fun. Um, think about how the following groups, people, places could have supported you more culturally. I want you to think about your town, any schools you've attended, your family. Give advice to each of these groups on how they could have better supported you.
I think the community has done probably a great job of supporting one side of my culture, the Italian side. That's just kind of in response to the amount of Italians in said area. So I think that the community kind of knows what they were dealing with, and the other side not so much. What would be nice is that the states don't necessarily section off parts of the state like that. So okay, most of the Italians live here, mostly Jewish people live there, mostly Hispanic people live up there. Just understand, like, listen, we're all here. So even though
Mhm.
we're in different parts of here, we're all here.
That would have been more supportive for you.
More supportive, I think, just in general for everybody. I think
How could your family have supported you more?
I wished that there was more pressure applied on me to actually be bilingual. Like, I wish that they didn't just give up on that dream. I wish that they kind of almost made it mandatory. Because I'm one of those people. If you make me do something and you're a person with authority, I'll just do it. Like if I'm told, I'll just get it done. I understand that there were learning disabilities that were prohibiting me from learning when I was at a young age. Although I'll give them the out on that. However, it's not like it was never something that came back around.
Hmm.
I was kind of like getting by in Spanish class and just not really caring. I wish that there was more pressure applied on me to actually be bilingual, because I definitely think it's definitely something that I feel like I'm lacking, and it's something that I really wish, if I were to go back as a kid, that I had more focus on. Christian Brothers Academy was my high school. I enjoyed it. I had a great time, taught me a lot, helped form me into who I am. However, where I felt like they could have been more supportive was teaching kids about their cultures. About 98% of my school was made up of either Irish kids or Italian kids. And then there was a 2% sprinkled in there. A couple of Hispanic kids and a couple of Black kids, and that was it. It was for the whole school. I would have liked to see the school embrace that more, instead of just kind of, copy and paste regular history class
Hmm.
all 4 years.
Yeah. So I think it's a good note because I mean CBA is definitely not alone in that sense that that curriculum in high school addresses a very one-sided thing.
It's world history, but what was going on Africa during that time? What was going on South America during that time?
There's this thing in early childhood education. The idea is that you look at a mirror, right? So when you're reading books, when you're learning things, you should be seeing things that reflect your experience.
Yeah.
When you see a window, you're kind of looking at somebody else's experience
Yeah.
and learning about that. And then the sliding door is the ability to walk through and like experience. Because the problem is that your school was 98% white, right? And like you're just going to learn about white
Yeah.
people and like like what they've done. Like there's so much more to the world than that. And I think that they could do a better job at like incorporating the relationship that folks have not just within their own cultures but also externally.
Exactly. So for college, the one thing that they definitely could have done I felt like to more support me was, I guess, broaden their term of diversity. College looked at it very narrow-mindedly. My diversity counted less. So my diverse background counted less. It wasn't kind of diversity that they were trying to focus on. So I would have appreciated them understanding my diverse background as well. I too am not white. When you already have me in that class, I'm already sitting there, we're already going over set topics, you know what I'm saying? Like, definitely go into it. Make sure we should get all the facts right. Make sure we get the nuances. Make sure we get the backgrounds right. Diversity is much more than just skin color and said nationality. Diversity is an entire background. So it's where your families come from, where you come from, what you've learned growing up, experiences that you've been through. Diversity captures all of that.